I just wonder what the balance is between do we want our best 16 cars or do we want it to be exciting? This is exciting. And I agree with everything that's going on. And this is not anything against Harrison Burton. It's not anything against Daniel Suárez. But are those our best 16 cars that we're going to have racing for the championship?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are the ball. What a race! California's Kevin Harvick does it. Tree making right there. You're the man.
Welcome to Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour, presented by NASCAR on Fox. I'm Kevin Harvick. She's Kaitlyn Vincie. He's Mamba Smith. And it's going to be a show today.
Is it going to be a show?
Saturday races are dangerous because I have an extra day to prepare. And I get so excited to come in here and talk trash, mainly to you. But now she's kind of inspiring me.
Oh, no.
We think she might cry if we start getting too deep into the weeds as far as trash talking. So
I'd be curious what you'd come up with for me.
okay.
I mean, we're pretty far into this.
You never know.
Yeah. We've seen some pictures from the weekend that might give us a little bit of inspiration.
Hey, we will reveal the picture. Don't think it's something it's not.
You never know.
How's the fit today? A little Sunoco action?
Yeah, no, this
for Mamba's attire?
Yeah, look.
A lot of bling today.
Very blinged.
You're blingy.
I got my
nice
mom
bracelet.
Yeah, I got Piper's bracelet she gave me. I wear it whenever I'm on set or working, and then my mom gave me this necklace and got this one on vacation, and
Oh, he's decked out. You never wear jewelry.
I don't.
That's not a thing.
No, I have all these watches and different things in my closet, and I just never get them out. I thought they were cool to buy like 20 years ago, and I hadn't worn them since.
Okay, well, if you need a place to put them, I know a place.
Where?
Hang on to them.
He's
for you.
trying to
about selling them on Facebook. You think that's
Facebook Marketplace?
Facebook Marketplace, maybe?
Oh, good for you. Yeah. They might not all make it to the
Take
marketplace.
a commission?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what? Every time I wear these necklaces, because the first time I hung out with Richard Petty, which was earlier this year, he saw me pull my necklaces out, and he's like, hang on, let me show you something. And he pulls out his 3, and they're like heavy. He's like, this is my Mr. T starter kit. I'm like, this is so cool. Like, Richard Petty, this is so cool.
Richard Petty's a pretty cool cat.
Dude, he's cool as hell.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's nice. Good backstory there on the jewelry.
Yeah,
I never
shout
knew
out to
that one.
RP.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we got a big show on tap today. Of course, we encourage the closers to subscribe on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star review as well. So Daytona was very interesting, guys. We will recap everything that happened out at the World Center of Racing. Preview Darlington. The final race of the regular season is coming up this weekend, which is pretty hard to believe. And you've got some special sips, of course, as always. So let's start with Daytona.
What do you want me to start with? And I told you so? Is that how you want me to start? I told you so.
Was that the line?
I told you. No, that was not the line.
Was that the line?
I told you that this race and I heard Chris Buescher talk about not being nervous in the points and not thinking about all that stuff. These guys come into this race, and every one of them in the field, I'll tell you the exact same thing about this race that I did about him. They come into this race thinking that this is a race that they can win. And all the guys who are out of the points or hadn't won a race, they all put a star next to this race at this point in the season, and they're thinking about winning this race. But when you get to the end of this race, you just throw caution to the wind if you're not in position to do that. We saw Kyle Busch in position to do that. We saw Michael McDowell in position to do that. We saw Josh Berry in position to do that. And so all these guys, it's just one of those races. And the speedway races are typically that way. But when you get to the end of the regular season, guys just throw caution to the wind. And I think we saw that as this race played out.
Before he gets too wound up, you look right here. It says, Kevin called it. We're going to have a new, I gave you credit for this. I said, you've been saying
that, but we
it all
needed
along.
everybody else to
yeah, I guess
we needed to remind everybody.
We need to remind everybody that Kevin did know this was going to happen.
I just feel like it's low-hanging fruit. We're at Daytona.
Well, you never said it.
Well, you already said it.
I've been telling you that for 8 weeks.
I know, but I'm not just going to agree with you. I'm just like, yeah, okay, duh. Because probably someone is going to make it. But no, it was everyone just, like you said, throws caution to the wind. They
have to, right?
Yeah, they do stuff that probably you wouldn't normally do. Like we talk about low percentage moves that we've seen some done at other places, they're even lower, I feel like here. Because if it works, the payoff is massive. And everyone wants to win at Daytona.
Yeah.
Like, you want to win at Talladega too, but like Daytona just is a little bit extra, whether it's the 400 or the 500.
And the unique part about this car is it's very hard to make progress. And the only way to make progress is to push. And as you go through the race, the aggression picks up with how you push, where you push, when you push, how long do you push, where the temperatures go up in the car. I still have the opinion that the super speedway package needs work. I think that all the wrecks are exciting, but it's hard for the guys to make progress and be able to put themselves in a position to be. Your only offense right now is to shove, and that shoving doesn't result into much. And we saw Austin Cindric at the end when he turned the 34 car of Michael McDowell for all those spectacular videos and the big wreck. But he was off the gas, and there's so much energy coming from the guys behind him. And when you go into that situation, into turn one especially, at really any corner, when you're off the gas and the whole line is pushing you, you have no chance to slow that car down. And that's what happens at the end of these races is you have to be so aggressive with the pushing and shoving. You get into those positions where you're not even in control of your car because of the pushing and shoving that happens so fast. So I would really like to see NASCAR and the teams come up with a speedway package that would make things move with those lines when you push to be more of a benefit, when the runs come to be able to make more ground. Because right now you're kind of in that, it's almost a stalemate with all the lines when everybody is pushing and shoving because you can only push so far and the side draft is so effective. There's just got to be a mix up in the super speedway rules. I would mix them up every year because I think that's what keeps the teams on their toes. And when they all start to get to a point to figure it out, they all start to run the same speed. But it's an interesting style of race.
Is there a time frame of speedway racing that you can like point to and be like, I'd like to see it more like this? You know, that you can reference?
I think the best times in speedway racing are when the rules are new, because everybody doesn't know a lot about it. Yeah. And I think that keeping the speedway rules fresh and having sometimes just switch from what it is now to what it was or what it might be going forward is just to keep it so that the teams can't just show up and qualify, right? We got to go to Daytona and practice and figure something out. And the drivers have to figure out how the car is affected by the drafting and things like that. So, was it exciting? Yes. Did we get an unknown winner? Yes. Did we tear up millions of dollars worth of race cars?
Always.
Absolutely.
Always.
And we're always going to tear up race cars at the super speedways. I just wish there was a way for a guy that could go to the back, could work his way through the pack or by making strategically good moves, not just lucking into, being in the right spot and you pass 5 cars. Where is the line as far as being able to be that crafty speedway racer?
Well, you mentioned the new winner, Harrison Burton. This was pretty exciting. Obviously, we'll talk about the family's reaction and all the things, but I don't know if any of us had him necessarily being the guy that would be the new winner, even though you predicted you thought it'd be someone. Did you think it'd be him?
I did not. I didn't have that one on
your card,
on my bingo card. I think as this race came down to the end, who would have thought you would have been calling, Retzloff and Burton for the win?
What was that?
Retzloff.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't think that you would have been calling those two guys for the win. And who would have thought that they would have, pushed out to beat Christopher Bell and Kyle Busch.
Two of them, two of the best, especially Kyle.
And so I think as you look at the finish of this race, it's a result of everything that has happened up until this point with all the carnage and crashing and torn up cars and everything that you have. But what a moment for Harrison. To be able to know that he's going to get released in 2025 from the Wood Brothers, but before he leaves, be able to get the Wood Brothers their 100th win for such a historic team. And you see him here. His dad didn't do many burnouts, if any, and you see his victory lap here waving to the crowd. So Harrison's a great kid. Hasn't been fortunate to have a lot of success in the first few years. I think he had one top 5 in 97 starts. So I think to be able to get to victory lane and get that confidence and be able to put all that behind him and be able to start working forward is a huge accomplishment for him. But you just never know it at these style of races.
Yeah, so watching that video, 2 things really stood out to me. One was the 23 was, I thought, destroyed. from the wreck. And he had made his way back up to like 6. So for him to even give himself a shot at a win or just maximizing the day was pretty impressive. And then the run, it was like everything timed out perfect, because when they took off, Vetzloff and Burton kind of lost almost a whole car length to Kyle Busch on the top. And then they come off at 2, and it's like those 3 cars, whoever they were, is the 21, the 62, and someone else, they all like linked up and started getting this head of speed. And right down, coming off of 2, Cody Ware like gets to the 20 and then gets him loose. And like you can hear someone lift on the in-car, and then all of a sudden the 21 is 2 car lengths out in front.
Right.
Like a lot of speedway racing is timing. And I think Kyle took the line that he probably felt like was going to have the best pusher with the 3rd guy in line. You know, Cody's not in these situations a whole lot.
Right.
So it's different racing in 25th versus racing out front. And you got to do stuff a little bit differently. And not that he did anything wrong, but the shot that he gave the 20, I think, is ultimately what got the 21.
Yeah, and I think that the thing that a lot of those guys don't realize when you're racing in the front is they just don't have as many reps at the finesse pushes and things that come with being able to keep that momentum and keep pushing the car in front of you to make that progress. And like you say, there's only one way to learn that. And when you get up front, you got to get up there and do it. But when you have the guys that are up there doing it, speedway race after speedway race, and know the pushes and how you need to be lined up and when to lift and when not to lift. Sometimes you don't know when to lift, because on TV it looks like you just don't lift, but there's a lot of dragging the brake, there's a lot of lifting, there's a lot of finesse that goes into doing it correctly.
So you referenced the fact that Harrison doesn't have a ride with Wood Brothers in the future after this season. What is that like for a competitor when you know an opportunity is coming to an end and you're still feeling like you need to kind of prove your worth, per se?
Well, I think it varies. I think it depends, and I think there's some people that leave teams and know that they're going to a different team. There's some people that retire, like Martin Truex Jr. is doing right now, knowing that his races are coming to an end, and not going to race again, or not going to race in a 19 car again. I think it's more difficult in Harrison's position because of the fact that you don't really know what you're going to do. So winning a race and having that momentum and confidence and just that notoriety next to your name adds value to what you do. So you hope for Harrison that it leads to more conversations about certain scenarios and teams and people and all the things that are out there. Obviously, it's late in the season, but you want him to land on his feet and winning a race, whether it's a speedway race or short track race, whatever kind of race it is. It's still
always
a win.
helps.
It's still a win.
Yeah.
And it adds value to what you're doing. And it adds value to that team. I mean, when you look at the team and you look going from 30 whatever in the points to top 16, those charter, the way that they're paid out is tiered. And when you're higher in the points, you make more money. So for the Wood Brothers over the next few years, which is how that is all weighted, is a 3-year average of where you finish in the points as to where you sit in the payout, adds a lot of value to the Wood Brothers team as well.
That team has also gone through a lot of changes. Like they've been working on combinations, whether it's crew chiefs or crew guys, and just to make it all right. And it's paid off now, and I'm really happy for them. Harrison Burton is a winner. He's won at every level since he's raced quarter midgets, and it's cup racing so hard. Like it's so these guys are so good that when you get there, you're expected to just keep winning, and it just doesn't work like that most of the time. So I'm really happy for Harrison.
Well, you bring up some other points that I know we want to touch on is the playoff integrity, the integrity of the playoff system, because you referenced one top 5 in 97 cup races. Now he gets this win and he's in. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I just wonder what the balance is between do we want our best 16 cars or do we want it to be exciting? This is exciting. And I agree with everything that's going on. And this is not anything against Harrison Burton. It's not anything against Daniel Suárez. But are those our best 16 cars that we're going to have racing for the championship? Or does it matter? If you have 5 or 6 guys that are in there that we're going to be, 30 something in the points or 20 something in the points, is the integrity of the playoffs? Is it putting our best foot forward as far as representing our best 16 cars as we go into playoffs? I think he scored almost 300 points less than Kyle Larson. And I know that's the way that the system is set up. Win and you're in. But is that all that there is? For me, I have a hard time with the win and you're in strategy because we have such a long season with everything that we do that goes with cup racing. So I can see it both ways. There's an entertainment side. But I'm a traditional, racer that wants the best 16 guys to race for that championship. So
I want the best 16 guys, but I love the drama of somebody coming from the back and just being able to make a run. Like once you're in, like who knows? Like no one would have thought that Blaney was gonna make deep runs in the playoff. I mean, I did, but a lot of people didn't think that he was gonna make deep runs when he was just sneaking into the playoffs, and he made deep runs. And so I like that. I feel like we're catching a little bit of March Madness in the bottle of you just don't know. And I think that drama makes it fun. I hate it if I'm a competitor like Bubba, I'm furious because we're running fast enough and good enough to be a top 10 team.
For
not
sure,
just
he
a
deserves
top
to be in.
16.
Yeah.
And that's my point. Is a top 10 team just because they hadn't won? Does that mean their season, should be completely lost when you have a 30th something place car make the playoffs and kick a top 10 guy out that could make a run in the playoffs because the 21's not making a run in the playoffs. The 99's not making a run in the playoffs.
No.
There are just some of those guys that have won a race. Austin Cindric's not making a run in the playoffs. So I think, are we wasting
spots?
Are we wasting spots?
I don't know. I would say that when Ryan Newman made his run in the 31, I didn't think he was going to make it anywhere. And he went all the way to the Final Four and almost beat us. And so I don't know. That part I like because.
But he never won.
I know. And I know. And that would have made me, that I would have felt some
So
type
what's
of
the
way about that
solution?
too.
What do you think the solution could be?
I'm just bringing up the conversation.
Yeah, I know. I was curious.
I think it's an interesting conversation because we've had as much, outside the top 16 winning this year from. When you look at the points that people have tallied throughout the year, there's a pretty dramatic drop when you look at Harrison Burton as low as it can go in the points. When you look at Daniel Suárez, pretty low in the 20s. Austin Cindric, pretty low. And I just wonder, where is that line of putting our best foot forward with the most competitive cars? But the system is what it is right now, and it's win and you're in. And I'm not knocking anybody who has won to get in. I'm just asking, if we think that the integrity of the point system is questioned.
Yeah, I don't know why this happened, but we went from a top 30 to now. I think you just got to be full time running all the races basically. So and Harrison was 34th. I think maybe if we go to back to top 30, even top 25, I think that'll force you to be better. It's a better.
Yeah, maybe that's the solution is move it to top 25 or
maybe
something.
top 25.
Well, we're gonna have the same conversation about the champion, right? Like I still believe that, it shouldn't come down to one race. I still believe that there should be 2 or 3 races that determine the championship. I look at the whole point system and structure. It's super exciting.
Yeah.
But it's also very open for controversy.
I also have an issue with the driver who has the most wins. There should be something else given to them for all the wins. Like one of your years, how many wins did you have? And you weren't in the championship.
Well, I think that's the thing about NASCAR racing, right? Because you can win a bunch of races, but you can't win you're not necessarily guaranteed to winning the championship. Yeah. With the way that how long the season is and the points, even in the old structure before we had playoffs and we had the chase.
It was the same.
It was the same way, right? You could win a bunch of races, but if you didn't finish races, it hurts you a lot worse than it does now. And now it's like, you knock the fender in and can't put one on and can't replace it and can't do this and can't do that. So they just pull them in the garage.
Should the driver has the most wins get an automatic spot to the championship 4?
Not most wins.
No,
not.
But we
most
base
wins.
everything on winning. Why shouldn't the guy that wins the most races?
I think
Get to be in the Champ
if
4.
you win the regular season championship, you should go all the way.
I still think the wins, for me personally, I would love to see the team that had the most wins all year should get to be in the championship 4.
Okay, so if you get the most wins all year, but you finish 4th, but you're 4th in the championship, you didn't really beat the other. Like you
didn't have the best year.
You didn't have the best year.
Okay,
I can see it. This debate is this.
I understand what you're saying.
This debate is endless.
I've never thought about
what the right balance is with everything is you'd have to have a room of people to figure this out.
Because think about it, if you get the most wins, it's going to put more premium on wanting to do that. So you're guaranteed a spot to the championship 4.
Right, but then on the flip side, right, to Kevin's point, like it's this win and you're in thing, and like it doesn't give the person who's had the best year, which are what a lot of the core fans don't like, who's getting the best year, the best opportunity. So if you have the best year in the regular season, you probably have a good amount of wins.
Yeah.
Chances are you're like top 1st or 2nd or 3rd in wins.
Because right now we look at, I'm going to use Kyle Busch as an example because he had a miserable season up until we had the break.
Right.
And now he's feeling pretty jazzy about his cars.
Right.
And I think as you look at those cars and what he's done at Michigan and Daytona and wherever else we race, Richmond, I think he's the type of Cinderella story that can make a run into the playoffs.
Correct.
And he's got the speed all of a sudden that he needs to take his car into the playoffs and make some noise with a low seed.
Yep.
These other guys don't have that. They aren't taking their car and they aren't making a run into the playoffs and making any noise. The only noise they're going to make is the noise that they make getting to the playoffs.
Man, I can't wait for an underdog to go to like the round of 8. I can't wait for whoever's 16 or 15 seed to just do it. That'll be. I hope it happens.
I hope it happens too, but
honest.
the likelihood of it happening is very, very, very low.
And I do feel bad for Kyle Busch real quick because he has been like they've had a tough year, and I'm like he's in position to win, and it's Kyle Busch going down the backstretch on the last time. He's probably going to win this. Yeah. I was very excited for Harrison because for his career.
Yes.
He needed it.
Yeah. So I'm excited for Harrison Burton too.
Yeah.
I just bring up the point.
The
point of the system.
Very valid. Mm-hmm. Okay, good debate. All right, listen, Josh Berry looked like he could have been the guy at numerous points throughout this race. Yeah. Really violent, scary hit for Josh Berry, though. After having such a strong race, and he won a stage.
He did.
What did you think when you saw this unfolding?
Well, I'm concerned, and it started at Michigan. This wreck right here, wow. And upside down, hitting nose first. That's one that I don't think that we've seen head on into the safer barrier upside down. So I guess maybe we'll flip all of our data upside down and start to read it. But happy to see Josh get out of the car.
Yes.
And I talked to Josh yesterday and he said he was okay. And that's just that's what I talked about earlier. This wreck is the exact same thing that we talked about earlier. You have to push and shove. And like you talked earlier, sometimes those pushes come from the 3rd, 4th, 5th row.
Yep.
And the guy in the 2nd row can't really control it. And by the time it gets to the first guy, you saw Austin Cindric get sent into the 4 right there. And that's what causes all of these wrecks. So if you want to eliminate stuff like this happening, we got to figure out how to make these pushes mean more and be able to not have to push and shove as much as we do. Because if you can't push and shove right now, you won't be able to go anywhere. Like if they take the pushing and shoving away, then nobody will be able to make any ground.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can't take that away from them until we make the lanes move faster or spread the cars out a little bit somehow, some way. But one step to that is being aggressive and changing the rules on the super speedway packages so the teams have to chase it all the time. Sure, it's easy and it saves everybody money, but does it really save everybody money when they're tearing stuff up every single time that they go to a speedway? You can count on millions of dollars getting torn up every time, but I'd love to see them mix the rules up, and so the teams and the drivers have to continuously chase those super speedway rules.
So that was one incident. Another one also involved Austin Cindric and the 34 of Michael McDowell. Michael always obviously good on these style racetracks. What did you think when you saw this kind of accordion effect taking place on this incident? Yeah,
this one was because it's into turn 1. It's a very vulnerable situation when you're going into the corner like that, and it's kind of unloaded a little bit,
a lot.
And you kind of like you can see that 34 like goes out, and he's really like it looks like he's on top of the track, like it looks like he's just floating off into turn 1. And man, if you're pushing in the wrong spot, especially in the corners, like this is almost what happens every time. Really happy that all the cars stayed in the park because for a minute it looked like the 34 might be leaving the yard. And it was massive, man. I mean, and it happened so fast, like right there. It wasn't a very hard touch, but it just sent him.
Yeah, and you know, I, in Austin Cindric's defense, you know, he had a massive push, and you saw the flames come out of the pipe, but it was too late at that point to kind of cure the problem of being right on the back bumper of McDowell. And as you go into turn one right there, and you like you say, you kind of get in there and you're almost counter steering, because the back of the car is light, and when you push right there, you just have to be so sensitive as to how you push. And you saw, kind of pushed him on the right rear, and then Michael slid up. And when these cars slide up in front of him like that, it almost takes the back out of the racetrack. So just a lot of aggression. You have to race aggressively. You have to be willing to do whatever it takes to. If that guy spins out, you have to not think about it. If he wrecks, if you wreck, you have to be numb to being wrecked or getting wrecked.
I bet
it's part of super speedway racing.
When you were watching this, you're probably like, man, I don't miss doing that.
I got a text. I was at Dominion. I was actually sitting on a pile of Speedy Dry bags in the tech shed, watching the TV that they had with the Cup race on while they were racing all the local races. So I got a text from my wife, and it said, man, I sure am glad that I don't have to watch this anymore with you in the car. This is out of control.
Yeah.
The worst thing about, I think probably the worst feeling, I haven't ran a super speedway race. Maybe the ARCA race in 2025, but I feel like being loose in there while you're getting pushed has to be the most unsettling feeling if you're loose at a super speedway.
It is, but you have to be able to be pushed.
Choice.
You know, you have to be okay with that, and sometimes they go wrong. Yeah. We see this stuff happen all the time, but you have to be able to be pushed to make progress. And that's my point with everything. The pushes have to be worth more. For as hard as you have to push and as constant as you have to push, we have to make these pushes worth more. And that's where a lot of these wrecks happen. That's where all of them happen. Yeah, they're all just from pushes. Yeah.
So one other thing we saw a couple times in this race was fires with Denny Hamlin's car, Daniel Suárez as well. Daniel Suárez was pretty big, and I was actually standing behind their pit box with a guest who I had brought to the race, and the team sent me a photo that they had of the incident. You can see me in the background with my reaction to it, because it was just, I hadn't really seen anything like that even after being on pit road all these years. It was a big flames.
Big fire.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the way that it all happened, and they spilled a little bit of gas on the ground. And when Denny's car came through, it lit it on fire, and then it followed the trail of gas back up into up into Suárez's car. And we've seen a lot of these cars catch on fire, and I think that some of the fire retardant of the body panels and a lot of the panels inside the car probably should be looked at.
Yeah.
With everything that happened in this particular situation, I don't know that that should end a car's race. So it's a very unique situation, which is how we get to a lot of these scenarios of learning.
Yep.
And I think that this is definitely something that we need to learn from. We didn't learn from the foam in the doors and the heat shields and the there was no fire retardant on the foam that was in the doors, and we just let 5 or 6 cars burn up, and finally I'd had enough, and we had the crappy ass parts comment at Darlington when it ended my race, and they had worked on it a little bit, but from that point forward they worked on it a lot more and have solved those issues since. So I would just question how long some of that stuff will actually burn, and what the fire retardant of the body panels and things are, and what that is, as we've seen the mud flaps catch on fire in the past from burnout. So
I would have to I'm assuming that because of how this fire started and all that we haven't had one. A lot of times when it's the first one of something, like I bet the 99 and the 4 both go to the R&D center.
Well, the 4 went.
The 4 went for sure. So because we haven't seen, to your point, we haven't seen someone hit like that. And it's hard to I don't know if they I don't know how the testing works, but I don't know if I would have thought to test it upside down impact like that.
Yeah,
you don't know too until you see it. So
I think everybody would want to see the burn rate as to what
100%.
those the flashpoint is for a lot of those panels and pieces that caught on fire, because that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what the findings might be from NASCAR with those incidents. So Daytona in the rearview mirror. Probably a lot of people happy to be leaving that place. Next up is Darlington, also a very tough racetrack known as Too Tough to Tame, Lady in Black. Final race of the regular season. I can't believe we're finally here, guys.
I know. There's only one guy that's counting them down. Is faster than most, and that's Truex. Yeah, he's counting them down. He's super happy to be through Daytona, even though he had some torn up race car there. I think he's definitely counting them down. I think Darlington is it's in a perfect spot this year. It falls as the last race of the regular season with their traditional date. Next year it's back in the playoffs, most likely as if we ever get the schedule. So I think it's interesting that we're here with the 23 and the 1.
Yes.
Those guys are on the outside looking in. And to me, they're in a must win situation. They're way behind Chris Buescher. The only way that Chris Buescher stumbles is if they have a catastrophic moment or issue. Truex is in.
Ross
basically, Ty Gibbs is basically going to just need a day where he doesn't have anything tore up, and so to me, those guys are in a must-win situation, and I don't know. I think that obviously they could do it, but I don't know that they have the potential with the scenario that they're in at the track that they're going to with those two cars to go to victory lane.
It's this is not a place where you want to have to win.
Yeah.
I think I would go off and say that I would rather have to win at Daytona because anything can happen than at Darlington in the 500-mile race when you have to be great. And it's, August, but it's the hottest it's been all year.
Oh, and it's going to be high 90s.
So everything is just not
ideal,
conducive for having to get it done. So you got to dig deep. And you got to bring your best stuff. And I would push every limit of the rule book to make sure that my car has every opportunity to win this race. Yeah. And,
and they will.
Yeah, and they will.
And I think those cars they'll be championship prepared cars. They'll be everything on it will be right to the.
This is not that
they don't push it, but if you have something that you've been saving,
you
might think is iffy, you put it on right now on the 23 and the 1 car, and anybody else who hasn't won a race, will be in that scenario. But it's just a super difficult racetrack. It's going to be hot, like you say, and it's a racetrack that can just reach out and bite you at any moment.
With the toe links.
Make a mistake, and it's so simple to have something go wrong.
It's tough on the drivers, on pit crews. Everything has to be performing at its top level in order to win at Darlington. Surprised to see Ross Chastain 27 below. I know we've been kind of watching a slow decline a little bit for this team, but I'm not sure I would have put that one potentially not making the playoffs at the beginning of the year.
They had a 70-some point lead at one point as they went into the break, and it is just been wrong moment, wrong time. Hasn't run like they needed to be running in order to score the points that they need to be scoring, and that points position that he was in, that points lead really dwindled because of people winning. And then the position that he was in with the guys that were still in that points battle became guys with bigger points numbers, and so not winning puts you in a position to where you have to sit and sweat as you get to the end of the year of whether you're going to make it or not make it, and you put your season in the hands of others, and other people have won, and those guys have not.
I'd almost flip it and say that the 23 has been so fast that it's applied a lot of pressure to the guys in front of them. They have had a hard time finishing the execution, whether it's on pit road or getting caught up in someone else's wreck, which has happened multiple times. And so I think that they've been really hitting on all cylinders, and I think that's more of a reason, because Ross has been, since the break, they've been more competitive. They've been better, but the 23 has been almost winning speed weekly. And I think that applies a lot of pressure.
So we know this because we are obviously within the industry, but for listeners and viewers who are not, what is the dynamic like, say, at 2311 this week? Because Reddick's in, so is everything all focused simply on Bubba for the week? What's kind of that like?
I think since the break, it's been that way. I think that they've been focused on that 23 car. And really, it doesn't change a lot except for those things that we talk about that might be questionable.
Okay.
And being able to really put that last bit of effort into everything that you have going on. You hope that you don't have to do it at this point, but they're in a position where they got to do it, and they got to do whatever they have to do. And from the driver's standpoint, you prepare just like you would have prepared, and you're laser focused on doing everything that you can do to put yourself in a position, because he knows his cars have been fast.
Yeah.
And he should have the confidence to know that he can go out there and compete to put himself in a position to be competitive and see where it all falls. So it's an interesting scenario, but it'll be all hands on deck to do what they have to do.
I'm interested to see how the 17, what their strategy is.
Yes.
Because
that's the worst.
That's the worst,
you
I'm
really,
sure. Yeah.
Do you go for a win? Like, do you go race? Like, you have this points cushion. Are you points racing? Yeah, kind of, because we almost can point our way to and get it and be almost locked up. But you also can't lose all the points by going for a win. Yeah, like they're
the good news is apparently they aren't thinking about it. So I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, all right.
They don't have a strategy. They're just going to go out there and wing it, man.
They are in the gray area of the whole situation. Kevin, are we shifting at Darlington? I don't remember.
Yep.
Okay. That makes me a little nervous for the 23 because, and maybe the 54, because we've just seen that at shifting racetracks, they have had an issue over the longevity of the summer.
Well, it's another one of those racetracks where you get deep in the run and you're going down the front straightaway and you start to have the option to leave it into fourth gear and run it on the rev limiter. Mm-hmm. I would assume that they are probably telling their guys they want the car off the rev limiter as much as possible. So early in those runs and going into turn 3, you're going to be pushing the rev limiter, but late in those runs, you're going to want the option to be on the rev limiter going down the front straightaway as the pace slows way down from where it starts. So I still think that you have to have that concern. Obviously, the 11 car had the issues with the engine and the tech issue with everything that was going on from March, April.
That's wild.
It was bizarre. Can you elaborate on that whole thing?
So basically, the engines have to go through this rotation of how many times you have to run them. And if you win a race, you have to take the engine back to NASCAR to be inspected. Well, they never took the engine back to NASCAR because they used an engine that, I better slow down. They used an engine that won Bristol. That engine doesn't have to be inspected until you're done running it through the mandatory cycle of races you have to run it. So when they got to the end of the cycle of races that they were supposed to run this engine at, it would technically have to go back to NASCAR to be inspected for the win at Bristol.
So it should have gone twice, right? Is that what you're saying? It should have gone for the win, and then it should have gone when it got
No, it just goes for the win.
Just goes for the win.
Yeah, it just goes for the win. And so it didn't go for the win to get inspected, and apparently they turned themselves in because they rebuilt the motor without the motor going back to get inspected. Major implications for Denny Hamlin from a point standpoint, and regular season points. The win bonus points got taken away, so there were huge implications from Denny Hamlin's side.
Never
Go
seen
ahead.
that
I see the
before.
curiosity on your face.
It's a little strange for sure.
For how well an organization like Toyota is run. I mean, mistakes happen and people make mistakes.
Yeah, but how does that happen?
I'm not saying that this was done on purpose. David Wilson came out and said that it was an accident and they took full responsibility for it. He's a man of integrity, and I believe what he says. However, there is a piece of me, if I was a competitor, I'm like, this is very strange to me.
So what you're saying is you think with all their engine issues that they took the engine apart to fix their problems going forward to make it better for the playoffs?
I don't know if that's exactly what it is. 'Cause that was very specific of what was in this brain, but I'm just saying.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying that they've been having issues, and then
all of a sudden.
And then this comes up, and it was before the issues had started, right? So like,
you put those glasses on today, and that's a pretty deep thought.
I just have a hard time believing that. I'm not saying they were doing anything crazy on purpose. I'm just saying I have a hard time believing that.
You're questioning it.
No, I'm questioning it.
You think there's a correlation?
Nothing happens in this deal on accident.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see what may fall out from this could occur. All right, let's move on to Trackhouse Racing, announcing that Shane Van Gisbergen will compete in the Cup Series next season. That's exciting. That's your guy.
It is exciting, and I think it's also very interesting. And when you look, a lot of people say SVG in the Cup Series. Why would Trackhouse not continue their development of Zane Smith and put SVG in the car? Well, the bottom line is, sounds like they're going to add Mexico City to the schedule. You've got 6 road courses on the schedule. And, I think he
has way more.
I know, but does the money really matter? I mean, they've got sponsors for everything.
Yeah, it still matters though, no?
To me, it's about being able to be in position to win.
That too.
And putting yourself in the playoffs, taking a chance and saying, we feel like we're going to win one of these road course races with SVG in the car.
Right.
I feel like that's what Justin Marks is saying to himself and his team and his situation, and saying, we're going to win one of these races and we're going to put ourselves in the playoffs with one of our cars right here.
I think SVG's emergence has been faster than what some people, me specifically, I thought he was great, but I didn't think that he'd be this great, this good, this fast.
Yeah.
So shout out to him for putting in the work. He deserves it. I feel really bad for Zane Smith because he's also been putting in the work and gone from a team that wasn't existent at the beginning of the year. They built this program and he's had some solid runs, especially as of late. I think it's interesting if he steals the win at Nashville. Are we still having the same conversation? But it didn't happen that way. But he's a truck champion. Like he's doing the things he needs to do to be a Cup driver. SVG though, it's hard to keep that man out.
Yeah.
Like you gotta put him at the top level.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting scenario with SVG in the cars, because one of the things that he talks about is the skew in the Xfinity cars and how that's so abnormal to him. Yep. And then he gets in the Cup cars and he talks about, this feels normal. The car's going straight and I don't have to, I can learn more in the Cup car than I can the Xfinity car because it feels more appropriate to what I have done with the rest of my career. So it'll be interesting to see his progression, but trying to put yourself in a position to win races on the road courses is a definite conversation starter to say, okay, well, we can put ourselves in position to win, and he can learn at the same time on the ovals. And I think with Zane, he obviously had a terrible start to the year, has had some decent runs over the past little bit. The only thing that I believe Zane's in a strange position at this particular point, because I thought he was going in the 34 car. I really thought that's where he would wind up, but sounds like Ford might be frustrated with a lot of the things that happened when he left the Ford camp, and might not be an opportunity there because of the manufacturer.
There is the dominoes continue to fall.
There are a lot of politics in this game, and sometimes the young ones learn the hard way.
I'm sure of that. We'll have to follow that story and see where Zane Smith may land. Okay, we hit a lot of news notes, a lot of topics. It's now your turn. The floor is yours for the Mamba's social sips. Once he dropped that engine conspiracy, I couldn't even barely get to my next note.
I mean, listen, I don't know if it was a conspiracy. It's just a thought.
Right.
Anyway.
You thought it, I said it. I had to decipher your thoughts.
Yeah, we're on the same page. Listen, welcome to your favorite part of the show, America, Mamba's Sips. And I want to start out, last week we had a take and it ruffled a lot of feathers. And I wouldn't usually speak for my compadres here, but I will speak for everybody here and say, we don't care. We think Kyle Larson is the best driver in the world now. Right. Period. Point
it's
blank.
Simple to settle.
Yeah.
Let's just put him in one of the cars and see what happens. If we're wrong, we're wrong. Where's Zach Brown? We need you, Zach Brown. Come on this show.
We've been making a call
so that we
for
can
him
talk
for
about Kyle
months.
Larson driving this McLaren F1 car.
Yeah.
There you go.
Correct. Congratulations, Zach Brown. You guys did great this weekend.
Yeah.
So just slide that in. All right. Back to the sips. This was one of the best things I've seen in a minute. If you have seen Talladega Nights, you're going to enjoy this. If you haven't, I know you know the clip regardless. So this kid was at Millbridge, which is a local dirt track here in the Charlotte area. They do a great job with developing kids and everything. And this guy, I don't know his name. I should have found it out. Sorry.
What in the hell?
I know, my bad. I'm bad at my job.
It's like a half sip.
I don't know his name, but I hope he sees this because this is amazing. And let's roll the clip.
How was your run out there? I mean, you dominated this one.
Well, here's the deal. I'm just the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning and I piss excellence. I'm just a small, non-hairy Texan winning machine. I mean, nobody can hang with our stuff. We got driven, metric cycles, 2 Scoops ice cream, Moyer's Lakeside Easy Read, Joe Krause Designs, Tri-Painter, and everybody else who helps me get here on board. So it's great to be here in Victor.
I love the enunciation on the piss excellence. It was
piss
perfect.
excellence. There's
You did
2
great.
things about that I love. One, he runs out of breath at the end. And
he's
as
spent.
people that do like TV and talk stuff like that's happened, that's like a nerve-wracking situation. And 2, I hope our drivers do more stuff like
I
that.
agree.
Like, just stand on it.
Yeah, that's one of the best acceptance speeches. Yeah, you know, from that movie. I love that scene.
Yeah, it is. It seems to be a common thread here now that we're starting to see a couple of these
young
bucks want to say the Talladega
Ricky Bobby
Nights
lines.
victory speech.
I think we
love
need
it.
to make Kevin reenact the dinner scene at his house when he moves into the Ricky Bobby house.
Yeah.
Remember? Where they're doing the
Just
KFC,
make it
Taco Bell.
We'll do it.
Like,
we'll have to.
That would be,
modernize it.
and you know what? And the kids had red hair in that movie too. Like you could have your kids in it. You should do that whole scene.
The funny part about all this is Kaitlyn and I were in the hotel room this weekend, and Talladega Nights came on, and he's like, "Dad, can we watch this? I want to see what our house used to look like."
Oh, that's amazing.
That's so
We
great.
need to make that happen.
Yeah, okay, I'm down for that. All right. Ryan Truex wins the Xfinity race at Daytona. Ryan has been grinding it out in a career for a while now.
Yeah.
And one of the coolest things is Martin has really, like, you see it now more. The big brother, little brother connection is really there. And Martin walks into victory lane, was super happy to see his brother win. And I just think that's so cool. Like, and for Ryan, he's been trying so hard and he's won a couple races in the last couple of years. And I think he deserves a shot at a full-time ride at this point.
He's definitely done a good job, and he's made the most out of his opportunities. And I think Martin has been a big part of helping Ryan get the opportunities that he's had of late, and being able to capitalize on those moments is huge. It's so confusing to me in some of these scenarios like that as to who gets the opportunity and who doesn't.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Because Ryan has done such a great job to be able to capitalize on the few times that you get in the car. And that's not easy to just jump in and out of those cars and be able to do the things that he's done and winning, a few of those races. So he's done a great job, and it would be fun to see him get a shot.
So I made a tweet after the truck race. I said the winners this weekend were, it was Truex, not Martin. It was Burton, not Jeff or Ward. And it was Riggs, not Scott. So Lane Riggs wins this week.
Cool.
Going a little off. Sorry to our producer.
Family
Tyler.
affair weekend.
Yeah, like a bunch of family, a bunch of like
So
NASCAR
cool.
names, which I think is really cool. But Lane is celebrating his win and throws his shoulder out on top of the truck, and he dislocates his shoulder
That's
in the middle of his celebration.
pretty impressive.
I was sitting in the chair, and I was watching this race, and I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my God, how could you knock your first win down any further than standing on your truck and your shoulder popping out and you're hanging on top of the truck with your arms sitting there dangling, trying to figure out how you're going to get off the top
Just get off the truck, yeah.
Oh,
Pretty gangster
That's
that he just had him just pop it back in,
yeah.
though.
He said it had happened before.
Yeah.
I thought if anyone was going to have an arm pop out of socket, it was Jeff Burton when his son won. Like maybe that would have kind of dislocated.
So thank God Jeff took a step back when Harrison won, because Lee Diffie was going to take a hook.
He was a big hook.
That's what I'm saying. That I could see maybe dislocating.
So the Burton win, I think I watched that clip over and over.
So did I.
Lee did a great job calling it. The portion where he's like, Jeff, your baby boy just got it done. Like
goosebumps.
That hit me so hard in my soul because I've seen my dad watch me race and how excited he gets when we do well. I've seen, Kevin be excited when Kaitlyn does well. How it's just so hard. We talked about it earlier, Kevin. It's so hard to win at this level, and to see like all of the relief come off the whole family. So,
his wife Kim
is
just so jacked up.
Yeah, I think when you look at the whole Burton family and you see Jeff's emotion in the booth and his excitement, you would expect that out of a dad. And I think when you look at racing families that are kind of legacy families in our sport, the Burtons are obviously one of those families, and Jeff has been a part of this for a long time. Ward was a part of it for a long time. Both of their kids, Jeb and Harrison, racing full time. But to win at the Cup level and Harrison finally be able to do that, he's won at everything that he's ever been in, like you said earlier, and to be able to share in that family legacy as a Cup Series winner. And have his dad in the booth calling the race and then leave the booth and come celebrate with him down in the infield and in victory lane and be able to take that all in as a parent. I can't even imagine what that feels like.
You'll probably be there someday. Doing that.
Yeah.
Coming out of the booth down to your son.
I hope the first time that happens for you guys is him just banging your doors off for a win. I hope he just ships you to win a race. Yeah, I hope Kaitlyn ships you to win a race.
If he ships me, we're going to have a big problem.
Listen.
Because of the fact that I know who's paying for that car.
That's right.
I'll be backing him up the whole way. I'll be like, get out of here, Kevin. Get to your own pit.
Yeah.
Kevin's racing this weekend.
I know, at Florence. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I just... As I've gone through this whole process of driving the car and decided to race the pro late model, which is our second class that we have on the Cars Tour. I've never raced one, and I wanted to know. I've raced the super late model. I've raced the late model stock. I'm trying to understand all of this better from the seat to be able to have better communication on what we need to do with our late model stock teams. I know that myself and Kaitlyn, we're going to put a huge effort into the pro and super late model races next year on the West Coast. So I need to have a better understanding of what I'm getting into, whether I'm driving it or whether he's driving it.
Makes sense.
I needed to be more educated on what was going on because it's so much different than everything else that I've been driving on the Cup side for a number of years, that I need to kind of reestablish myself as, okay, what is my mindset here? Because I want to help. And so Florence just seemed like Dale's racing this weekend too at Florence. We're racing the Cars Tour on Friday night.
That's awesome.
The Cup race in Darlington, and the track's like 20 minutes from the Darlington racetrack. But
there you go.
So we're going to race Friday night.
Real quick, I want to ask both of you guys. Well, first off, I need to say, Landon Lewis, congratulations. He won for you.
Yeah.
It's a big weekend for KHI.
Big win for him. So I'm proud of you, kid. So Harrison wins, Lane wins, Ryan wins. What a moment for you guys both that was like you're made it. You're like, I feel like I belong moment. Like, Kevin, you won your first Cup win, right? But like there's so much going on with that. So I don't know if that was the moment or there was another win.
The moment that I finally felt like I made it was when I walked out on my own from Phoenix.
That's cool.
Being able to retire and do all those things on your own terms, for me was the moment that I felt like finally made it.
Yeah.
Because even if you win, right? Like we're going to take Harrison, for example. It's like, okay, well, you won. Now the next thing is going to be, well, can you win on any other track?
Right.
And so it's just like when I left RCR, it's like, okay, you left RCR. Was going to Stewart-Haas a good move? Well, then you win. And then it's like, okay, now can he win a championship? Okay, he won a championship. Now can he win two? And so you go through all these different stages, and it's never good enough.
Yeah.
You always reach this plateau of, okay, well, now he's got to do something else. And there's always something else out there. But being able to retire on your own terms and run your last race on your own terms, that was the moment that I was like, finally made it.
That's awesome.
Maybe.
I love that story. Well, you guys know I grew up, at local racetracks doing reporting. $100 a weekend is the money I was making at Langley Speedway. So once I got hired at Fox, I kind of had different roles, with the speed stage and with trackside. But once I got to do pit road for the truck series, I felt like I'd made it because I'd been working in local racing and this was a totally different stage. And that was probably when I was like, all right, I'm here, got it done.
Oh, yeah. So,
Yeah.
what are you looking at me for?
Where's your made it moment?
We were just waiting for your made it moment.
Made it moment?
I would say those two from the driver's seat. One, when I qualified for the Snowflake in Pensacola on speed, not through the last chance qualifier race with Michael and Lee Falk. That moment was just incredible because everyone was like, this is before anyone thought that I could drive at all. Like I've always talked about it, but didn't really get a whole lot of opportunities. So to go down against the best at that level and qualify in on speed was probably like feeling like trying to qualify for the Daytona 500 back in the day. I was so nervous. Felt like I was going to throw up. So that was it. And then running the ARCA race at IRP. I always wanted to run IRP. My dad was there. We were on national TV. AJ helped me out. So it was a tribute car to AJ. The partners that we had were from Elliott's. They're from Indiana. My friend's mother had passed away from her battle with cancer. So she was on the roof rail. And then that car turned into a diecast. So that's ingrained forever.
That's really neat.
Those two moments for sure from a driving seat standpoint, like it was like, oh no, if I did this more, I can mess around and do this.
Yeah. My other moment is being on this show, obviously.
Really?
Hell yeah.
Is it the beer in the cooler?
We say this all the time is Kevin Harvick. I mean, not many people get to do a show with someone like that. So that's pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
He's pretty cool.
No, the being on the show is great. I had a tweet about that, just like enjoying
that's
it.
what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Watching it when you're watching FS1 from one sport and then or a race or whatever, and then all of a sudden it's
there it is. Happy hour.
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, this is kind of dope.
neat.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
So I've enjoyed every part of this.
All right.
Yeah.
Are you done with your sips?
That's it. Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, we
all
got a little
right.
deep on that
well
one.
done. That was an emotional drunk sip. Okay. Time now for our last call. Who we believe can get it done out at Darlington. I'll let you do the honors going first.
I'm going to back up a little bit, and I think as we look back at the beginning of the season and some of the cars that we thought were dominant. When you look at the Hendrick cars, you look at the 5, you look at the 24. I'm going to go with William Byron.
Okay.
I think he's been battling through some things since his injury or his wreck. And I think that those guys are starting to get their feet back on the ground. And I like the way that they ran at Michigan. So I'm gonna say Willie B gets it back on track.
I would agree with that. Well, my pick is the guy we talked about earlier, Martin Truex Jr. He's been good at Darlington over the years, won there twice in the past. I just really want to see him win before he hangs it up. I need to see that guy go to victory lane again. So I'm going to pick him.
Okay. You guys know how my picks have gone all year.
Yeah, they're stellar.
And they're just, I ruin it for everybody. I told William, I was with William last night, and I explained to him that the reason he wrecked at Kansas in qualifying was my fault.
All your fault.
Because I picked him to win.
Are you picking him again?
No.
Okay.
I'm picking Bubba Wallace in the 23. This is a walk-off. This is like a walk-off home run moment. Go to Darlington, one of the toughest tracks that we go to all year. All the elements. You got to do it. Yeah, I think he's in the right mindset.
Yeah.
I think he's locked in. I think they're going to be fast. And it's going to be a moment where everyone's like, oh, okay. He might not win the championship this year, but like it's coming.
That would be
neat.
a great moment.
It's a big
mindset is. I just hope he sticks with where he's at, mentally right now.
100%.
Because if he does, people are going to love that guy.
He's dangerous where he's at right now mentally. I don't mean to roll back the tape a little bit, but we didn't talk about Harrison won, and we didn't talk about his burnout.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is, it wasn't really a burnout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I don't know.
Well, I think therethere's a lot of things that go into the burnout with Harrison. I think that his dad wasn't one to do burnouts, and I don't know the whole thought process behind it, but when you don't do a burnout, you get a 0.
Moral of the story, you get a 0 from Kevin. There you have it.
The 21 looks good in that Polish victory. That thing looks good on victory lane, but no burnout.
Big goose egg for that. All right.
That's a big goose egg.
We'll have to see who's doing the burnouts after Darlington, final race of the regular season. We can't wait to see how it's all going to unfold. Make sure you continue to subscribe on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review, and we will see you guys all after Darlington.